What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Killer Drone, and welcome back to some more Minecraft here on the Minecraft Let's Play. And in today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we... That egg went straight through the camera. That is awesome. Anyway, we are going to be making a brand new farm in today's episode. This is the Squid Farm, and I absolutely love making these. I think it's one of the more interesting farms in the game, and I always like making these toward the beginning of the world. I don't like having to worry about squid ink once I get to a certain point in the game, so making one of these early on is super useful, and it's going to be really useful for us because we are doing steampunk. That these gray terracottas, we're going to be using this a lot in our builds, so we're going to need a lot of squid ink in order to make the gray terracotta, because you need not only the black dye, but you'll also need the white dye. So squid ink sacks, they're all going to be absolutely vital to this entire build. So if we get one of these farms up and going early, then it'll make our life a lot easier later on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to head over to where the Squid Farm location is going to be. I already have this area picked out, and we'll just talk about it a little more once we get over there. So whenever we started out this world, I told you guys that I wanted everything to be kept relatively close together, and that's still true for the most part. However, not for the Squid Farm. The Squid Farm is actually a special farm that really does good in very specific locations, and that is why I have picked out this location specific for this farm. You see, squid have some special spawning mechanics in which they can only spawn in rivers and in oceans. Well, if you try to spawn these guys in oceans, you're going to be draining out a lot of water in order to control where they can spawn. Whereas a river, you're not going to have to drain that much in order to get them to spawn in a specific area. So that's why most squid farms are made inside of rivers. Now, I picked this particular river because it's right next to a desert biome and a savanna biome, which do not have any other rivers going through them usually. So if I go ahead and fly up, just like so, there's no other rivers in this savanna biome or in this other desert or in the desert that we were just in. There's just no other water sources for the most part for these squids to spawn in. These little pools that are over here, these are technically in the savanna. So if we go ahead and head into this water and hit F3, you can see right here where it says Biome Minecraft, it says savanna. That means that squid can't spawn there. Squids can only spawn in the river. So that means in order to control the spawning, all we have to do is get rid of the water in this river. We only have to spawn-proof this area for the squid to spawn effectively. So this is the best place that you can pick in order to have a squid farm. This is my favorite area to build a squid farm in because there's so little draining that has to go into this. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get set up a couple of things. First and foremost, we're going to get a nether portal set up. That way we can very quickly dry our sponges. So basically what we'll do is we'll go through the nether and we'll just place our sponges down in the nether and they will dry automatically for us. So let's see, do I have anything? Yeah, let's use wood. That will be fine. So I'll just make a nether portal here. I will drain out the parts of the river. Basically, I'm going to drain out the entire river pretty far back in each direction. And then this area is where our farm is going to be. So I'll get to that a little bit more later on, how exactly we're going to construct this farm. But for right now, let's just start with draining out the river and see where we go from there. So in order to drain the river effectively, what we're going to use is sand and sponges. Basically what we're going to do is use these sand blocks in order to section off parts of the river. So we're basically just going to place sand just like so, stack it all the way up and make walls and basically just make another wall somewhere along here to section off this area. Then we'll place our sponges in that area and drain it and then move on and make another subsection. We're going to do this over and over again until the entire area is completely drained of all the water. So we'll basically start with a section that looks like this, place down a sponge, and do this over and over again until there's no water left in this area. Now, in order to dry out our sponge, we're not going to smelt these guys, we're just going to bring them to the nether and instantly dry these guys out. But as you can see, that was super easy to drain out this section of the river. And now we're just gonna put another sand wall right over here and do the same thing. And we're gonna do this over and over again until we're pretty far out in each direction. We wanna get this river a huge buffer so that no squid are spawning except for in our farm. If you guys have something like spawning spheres installed, this is probably a good point to use it. So let me go ahead and just show you guys exactly what I mean. Let me pick up all of these sponges, and then I'll show you guys what spawning spheres done. So spawning spheres is a data pack that was made by Exumavoid, and what it does is it shows you where creatures can spawn around the player. So if I go ahead and do /function ss : and then do create, and we'll just create us a blue sphere real quick. Okay, so this blue sphere that is around us right now in the dark blue is the area in which mobs cannot spawn around the player. So squid cannot spawn in our farm if we're right on top of this area. But everywhere between this dark blue and that light blue is where mobs can spawn. So if I was standing right there where our center point is, as you can see, squid can spawn over here, all the way around the bend in this river, and all the way out to this area right over here. So this is approximately where we would want to drain to. Somewhere up in this area is where we would want to drain to. Same thing on the other side of the river. You would take it the exact opposite way and see if there's any rivers in this direction. And it looks like we're going to have to drain to about right in this area. So it is going to be a pretty long process of draining, but I promise you guys, these squid farms are well worth it. You're talking about somewhere, I think my last squid farm that we did in the previous world got us somewhere around 33,000 squid ink per hour, which is completely unnecessary for a single player world, but for a server, depending on if you guys are using a lot of dark prismarine, you could go through that squid ink pretty quickly. But anyway, that is the Spawning Spheres data pack. You can go and get that on the Vanilla Tweaks website if you want to, if you're using Java Edition. So that is a cool little data pack that is super useful. And there we go. All the spawning spheres are gone. Now, back to draining out this river. Alright, ladies and gents, we are back, and I now have the entire river cleared out of water, both in this direction and in the other direction of the farm. So, theoretically, that means that this is the only area in which squid can spawn, which is absolutely perfect and exactly what we want. I also went ahead and dug this down a little ways because of the squid spawning mechanics. I'm probably going to do a more in-depth video on the squid and probably make it into a farming guide episode, but for right now, let's just go over the basics of how squid spawning works. So we've already talked about how squid spawn in two places. They spawn in ocean biomes and in river biomes. So we are here in a river biome. We've removed all of the water. Now there's a couple other situations that we need to deal with. First and foremost, squid share spawning spaces with things like salmon and with cod. So other things that spawn in rivers also share spawning spaces with squid. However, all of those other mobs require 3 high water in order to spawn. But the squid does not. The squid can spawn in 2 high water. So if we make all of our channels only 2 high, we will not have anything spawn in our farm except for squid. So we won't have salmon, we won't have cod, we won't have anything like that in this farm. Only squid. It's one of the weird spawning mechanics that squid have that makes squid farms really, really effective. So our general idea here is then to make this ice block into water, have that water flow all the way along a huge canal, and then break the temporary block underneath. So we would basically remove this cobblestone so that the water layer flows downward. Because the water layer flows down, all of these squid will be forced down whenever they spawn, and they will fall through the farm all the way down to their death at the bottom. So, at what levels can squid actually spawn? Well, they can spawn all the way from Y level of 46 all the way up to the surface of the river at Y level of 62. So we have a pretty large spawning space here that we can use in order to make these channels. So basically, here's my idea. We need to keep these channels less than 3 blocks high. So my basic idea is to come along with fence gates like this and then like this, all the way along the side. And what that will give us is a platform here of temporary blocks and then ice on top of that. We'll break this ice, get us some water sources there, and then remove the temporary blocks, and we'll have a nice long 2-wide canal going from this end of the farm all the way down to this end of the farm. Now, this entire farm will not be active, so we do have some dead spaces in this farm. So, for instance, if we come all the way into this corner, this area right here is technically a savanna biome. So, technically, this won't spawn any squid, but this area will, this area. Basically, what we did was we found a cross-section of the river that has a ton of spawning spaces in it. So this will still be a very effective spawner, a very effective farm, because the second that squid spawn in, they're going to fall down to their death anyway. So still going to be a really effective farm. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend several hours placing fence gates and then coming back through and opening them all up over and over again. It's going to be quite the grind, but that's okay. I absolutely love making this kind of farm. So this is going to be cool. It's going to be fun. And let's get to work. Also, some people pointed out to me on stream last night that we could totally make a wither rose farm in order to get black dye, but I really don't want to do that. I like wither roses and all, and we're probably going to make a wither rose farm at some point throughout this Let's Play, but I just like to see squid die. I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely hate squid, so yeah, a squid farm is something I really, really like to make in all of my worlds because, well, I hate them. And that's pretty much all the reason I need to make a farm. Alrighty, ladies and gents, so it has been about 20 minutes or so, and I now have the first layer of the squid farm in. It's going decent enough. However, one problem I didn't foresee me having is I don't have enough fence gates. Fence gates are so expensive in this game, man. They are absolutely insane. So one log in this game is a fence gate, which means in order to make this farm, you need a lot of fence gates. And I thought that I had enough, but apparently not. Apparently, I had a major miscalculation. But that's fine. We'll go ahead, we'll go and chop some more wood and get some fence gates in order to finish this thing off. In order to do the next layer of this guy, basically what we're going to do is we're just going to build right on top of where this ice is, the next layer of fence gates. So we'll have 2 fence gates going along on top of this, where this water will eventually be. And it'll stretch all the way down, and then we'll, once again, just keep stacking fence gates along the side. I think we're probably going to be able to get in, like, probably 4 layers or something like that. And then we'll also have to dig out below the farm still in order for these guys to drop down and die. But all of that's going to be relatively easily. Digging out underneath the farm, that's going to be easy, as well as making the multiple layers is going to be relatively easy. The big thing is all the fence gates. The big thing is all the fence gates at this point. There's nothing more in Minecraft that I love than Haste 2. Haste 2 beacons are absolutely amazing. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we now have 2 layers of this farm done. And I think that's all that I'm going to do for right now. This is still going to be plenty of spawning space for the squid. And if we need to extend this further up, we can do so later. But for just me in this world, since it's single player, I think that this will be enough squid ink for just me to handle. Now, if you're on a server, you can obviously make this bigger, and we may come back and make this bigger for ourselves later, but I think for right now, this is absolutely plenty. I absolutely love this farm. I do. I love it. I absolutely love the Squid Ink farm. These things are absolutely so cool. So here we are. This is the farm done. We can expand this up more if we need to in the future, but for right now, we are still getting an insane amount of ink out of this guy. I've removed all the temporary blocks from the water channels, and Squid Ink is constantly falling down. I also went ahead and added in a access ladder here. That brings us down to where the pickup system is that is picking up all of the squid ink. So if we go ahead and take a look down here, down the slow ladder, you will see we have ourselves a minecart track going all the way underneath. We have ourselves a couple hopper minecarts with a double hopper unloader here that is unloading the hopper minecarts with the squid ink. So let's go ahead and just turn both of these switches on. We'll probably pretty this up a little bit later, but the hopper minecarts go up and down the track over and over again, picking up all of the squid ink slowly, and then they'll all come back here and deposit the squid ink into these chests. And we have a ton of squid ink now. We have all of this here. We have all of this over here. Not to mention, if we head back up to the top, I've already emptied this thing a couple of times. Over the course of me making this thing, at the bottom, putting in all the rails and stuff, I just had squid falling on my head the entire time. And I filled up a couple of chests up here with squid ink. We got squid ink there. We got squid ink here. We got, I don't think we have any there. Do we have any here? I don't know. All of these chests, oh, we had some right there. We got a lot of squid ink. We got a lot of squid ink. So I don't think that we have to worry about this again for a while. And to get down to the bottom, we can kind of just do something like that as well. But man, oh man, I absolutely love this squid ink farm. I think that it's so cool. Let's see, are these guys coming back? This guy is back. We'll go ahead and flip that off for right now. And whenever this minecart comes back, we'll flip him off as well. So anyway, that is the majority of this farm. We'll probably make a farming guide on this relatively soon, just because it's so much fun to make one of these. If you hate squid like I do, this is such a cool farm. It really is. It's such a cool farm. Oop, I pushed that hopper minecart into the area. Can I just remove this? There we go. Nice. Yeah, this is such a cool farm. I love how this thing looks. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I do think that that is going to be where I wrap up today's episode. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it, as well as if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. You guys have a great day. Squid Farm! I love them. I absolutely love. Yes, Wither Rose is more efficient, blah, blah, blah. But it's squid. It's squid, and squid are fun.